The space around Earth's moon suddenly filled with darkness, not the darkness of night, but the darkness of metal. 300 alien ships dropped out of hyperspace like falling stars that refused to burn. Each ship was the size of a city. Their black holes blocked out the stars. Admiral Zextel stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crushing Fist. He was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. His 4 arms moved across control panels as he studied the small, blue planet before him. This was world number 848. Soon, it would belong to the Kethver Empire, just like all the others. The planet looked peaceful. White clouds swirled around blue oceans and brown land. Small ships moved between the planet and its single moon. The natives had not even reached their nearest star yet. This would be easy. Zexel had done this many times before. The pattern never changed. Show up with overwhelming force. Give them a simple choice. Most species surrendered within hours. The smart ones, anyway. The foolish ones tried to fight and died quickly. Either way, the Empire always won. He activated the communication system and sent his message toward the blue world. His voice was cold and without emotion. People of the third planet, you are now under the authority of the Kethver Empire. You have 72 hours to surrender. Will submit to imperial rule. You will provide 60% of your planet's resources as tribute to the Empire. You will relocate your population to designated areas for processing. Zextal paused and let his next words sink in. If you refuse, we will destroy your world completely. Every city, every building, every living thing will be burned from space. We have done this to 847 worlds before you. We will do it to you if necessary. You have 72 hours to decide. The message ended. Now came the waiting. Zextel had learned that most species needed time to panic before they accepted reality. They would argue among themselves, would look at his fleet and count his ships. They would realize they had no choice. On Earth, every radio telescope and communication dish picked up the alien signal. The message was broadcast in perfect English, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic, and dozens of other languages. The aliens had been listening for a while. In New York, President Sarah Chen stared at the translation on her secure tablet. Around the table, the emergency session of world leaders looked like they had seen ghosts. The Secretary General of the United Nations was pale and shaking. How many ships did our satellites count? Chen asked. 312 confirmed, replied General Harrison from the Pentagon. Each one is approximately 5 kilometers long. We estimate crew sizes of 50,000 per vessel. 15 million soldiers, whispered the Prime Minister of Canada, against 8 billion humans. It's not about the soldiers, said Chen. She had been president for 6 years and had seen secret briefings that these other leaders could not imagine. It's about the ships themselves. Each one could level a continent. The Russian president leaned forward. What are our options? General Harrison looked uncomfortable. Officially, none. Our most advanced weapons are chemical rockets and nuclear warheads. Their ships use technology we don't understand. They traveled between stars to get here. Officially, Chen repeated slowly. What about unofficially? Harrison glanced around the room. Every person here had been cleared for this meeting, but some secrets were harder to share than others. The Sword of Damocles project has been active for 73 years, he said quietly. Ever since Roswell, we've been preparing for this exact scenario. The room was silent. Most of the leaders had heard rumors, but few knew details. Every space program, every satellite launch, every scientific research station has been part of the preparation. The International Space Station is not what the public thinks it is. Neither is the moon base we supposedly don't have. Chen stood up and walked to the window, far above, invisible to the naked eye. 300 alien ships waited for humanity's answer. They think we're primitives, she said. They think we'll roll over like every other species they've encountered. She turned back to the room. They don't know humans very well. On the alien flagship, Zextal's communication officer reported that the humans were busy sending messages between their cities. This was normal. Primitives always needed time to accept their fate. We're receiving multiple transmissions from the planet. Should we monitor them? No point, Zextal replied. They're just arguing about whether to fight or surrender. The outcome is always the same. The Admiral walked to the viewing port and looked down at the blue world. Such a pretty planet. It would make a good agricultural colony once the native population was reduced to manageable numbers. The Empire always needed more food worlds. His aide approached carefully. Sir, what if they choose to fight? Zexal's laugh was like grinding. Metal. With what? Chemical rockets. Primitive nuclear weapons. We've faced that before. Their weapons cannot even scratch our shields. The aide nodded but still looked worried. It's just... Something feels different about this system, sir. Our scouts reported unusual activity around their moon and asteroid belt. Unusual how? Mining operations that don't match the planet's. Industrial capacity. Structures that seem too large for a pre-FTL civilization. And the debris field between the fourth and fifth planets shows signs of artificial construction. Stol waved a dismissive hand. Primitives always build beyond their means just before they discover space travel. It means nothing, but as he looked down at Earth, something bothered him. The planet was too quiet. Most species filled the space around their world with desperate radio chatter when his fleet arrived. The humans had gone silent after the first few hours. That was not normal. Earth, the countdown continued. 60 hours remained. In hidden bunkers around the world, soldiers checked weapons that officially did not exist. On the moon, gun batteries that looked like mining equipment powered up for the first time in decades. In the asteroid belt, ships that had been disguised as research stations prepared for war. Humanity had been waiting for this day for over 70 years. They were as ready as they could be. Admiral Zextal was about to learn that sometimes the sheep have teeth. The 72 hours passed slowly. Admiral Zextal waited on his bridge, watching the primitive planet below. His officers reported the usual activity. Radio signals between cities, small ships moving around the planet's orbit. Suggested real resistance. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet, his communication officer announced. Zexal smiled. Finally, the surrender documents would be properly formatted, as always. The humans had taken longer than most species, but they had reached the same conclusion that everyone else did. Put it on the main screen, he ordered. The image that appeared was not what he expected. Instead of a frightened leader with surrender papers, he saw a human in a military uniform. The man had gray hair and steady eyes. Behind him was what looked like a command center filled with other uniformed humans. I am Fleet Admiral Marcus Torres of the United Earth Defense Force, the human said calmly. We have received your ultimatum. Zextal leaned forward. This was not the usual response pattern. Where were the surrender documents? Where was the begging? Admiral Torres continued speaking. We have discussed your demands with our leadership. We have reached a unanimous decision. Here it comes, thought Zextal. The surrender Torres looked directly into the camera. Gosh. His voice was steady and cold. Come and take it. The transmission ended. Zexal stared at the blank screen. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever given that response. They surrendered or they died quickly.
Oh.
No one had ever simply refused. Sir? His aide asked quietly. Are your orders? Zextal's 4 hands clenched into fists. These primitives needed to learn their place. Demonstration of imperial power would bring them to their senses quickly enough. Launch a corrective strike, he ordered. 12 ships. Target their major population centers. Burn their largest cities to ash. When they see what we can do, they'll beg to surrender. Yes, sir. Which cities? All of them. Start with their capital cities. Show them that resistance is futile. The 12 ships broke away from the main fleet. Each one was massive, designed to destroy entire continents from orbit. Their crews had done this many times before. It was always the same. Primitive weapons would fire uselessly at their shields, and the ships would rain fire from space until nothing moved below. Captain Vexmar commanded the lead ship. As they entered the planet's atmosphere, he activated his weapon systems. The ship's belly opened to reveal massive energy cannons designed for surface bombardment. Beginning attack run on target city designated London, he reported to the fleet. That was his last transmission. The attack came from everywhere at once. Missiles rose from the planet's surface like angry wasps. But these were not the primitive chemical rockets the Empire expected. These missiles moved too fast and hit too hard. The first ship exploded before Vexmar could even understand what was happening. The massive vessel broke apart in a ball of fire that lit up the night sky over Europe. The second ship tried to maneuver, but something hit it from the side. A solid metal projectile moving at incredible speed punched through its hull like paper. The ship spun out of control and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. From the moon came streams of light. Railgun batteries that had been disguised as mining equipment for decades revealed their true purpose. Tungsten slugs fired at a significant fraction of light speed tore through alien shields like they were made of cloth. In space, objects that had been classified as space debris suddenly came alive. The International Space Station opened like a flower, revealing weapon systems that had never appeared on any public blueprint. Automated defense platforms that had been floating dark and cold for years powered up and began firing. Nuclear submarines. Around Earth's oceans launched missiles that had been secretly modified with alien technology recovered from crashes over the past 70 years. The warheads were not nuclear anymore. They were something much worse. Of the 12 ships that had descended to burn Earth's cities, 11 died before they could fire a single shot. The 12th ship, badly damaged and leaking atmosphere, managed to crash land in the Pacific Ocean. Emergency pods launched from the wreckage, carrying the few surviving crew members. On the flagship, Admiral Zextal watched in complete shock as his tactical display showed 11 red crosses where his ships used to be. This was impossible. Primitives could not have weapons like this. "Report," he shouted. "What happened down there?" His tactical officer was shaking as he read the sensor data. "Sir, the planet's surface is covered with hidden weapon installations. The moon appears to be a fortress. Our ships were destroyed by kinetic weapons, directed energy weapons, some kind of exotic matter warheads we don't recognize. That's impossible. Our intelligence showed they barely had chemical rockets. Sir, the asteroid belt is also showing massive energy signatures. There are structures there that our scouts missed. Big structures." Zextal's mind raced. How had the Empire's intelligence been so wrong? How could a primitive species have weapons that could destroy Imperial ships? His communication officer spoke up nervously. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the planet. Put it through." Admiral Torres appeared on screen again. This time he was smiling, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator. "Admiral Zextal of the Kethfer Empire," Torres began. "Let me explain something to you. 73 years ago, one of your scout ships crashed in our desert. We've been reverse engineering your technology ever since." Behind Torres, the command center showed tactical displays of the space battle. Human officers worked calmly at their stations. Every satellite we launched carried weapons. Every space station we built was a fortress. Every mining operation on the moon was covered for military construction. We've been preparing for this day since before most of our leaders were born. Torres leaned forward. "You made one mistake, Admiral. You assumed we were like every other species you've conquered. You thought we would surrender when faced with superior numbers." The Admiral paused and his smile grew colder. He didn't understand. "What humans do when someone threatens our home. We don't surrender. We don't negotiate. We fight. We've had 70 years to get ready for you." The transmission ended, leaving Zexal staring at a blank screen. For the first time in his 300-year military career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. These humans were not primitives. They were not victims. They were something the Empire had never encountered in 847 previous conquests. They were dangerous. Admiral Zexal's rage burned like a star going supernova. No primitive species had ever humiliated the Empire like this. 11 ships destroyed in minutes. 11 ships that had conquered dozens of worlds reduced to burning wreckage by creatures who barely knew how to leave their own planet. "All ships, battle formation," he commanded through gritted teeth. "We will burn this world to atoms. Every human will die. Their planet will be a warning to the galaxy about what happens when you defy the Empire. The massive Imperial fleet began to move. 300 ships arranged themselves in attack formation, their weapons charging for full planetary bombardment. Each ship carried enough firepower to crack a continent. Together, they could turn Earth into molten rock. But Admiral Zextel had made a critical error. He was thinking like someone who had only fought helpless victims. The Empire's ships were built for intimidation and orbital bombardment, not real combat. They were big and scary. But they were not designed to fight enemies who could shoot back. The humans had studied the crashed alien ship for 70 years. They knew exactly how Imperial technology worked. More importantly, they knew its weaknesses. Admiral Torres stood in the command center, buried deep under the Colorado mountains. Around him, displays showed the full scope of humanity's hidden preparations. Operation Sword of Damocles was finally being revealed to the galaxy. All stations, this is command. Torres spoke into his headset. The aliens are moving to full attack formation. Begin Phase 2. Cross the solar system. Humanity's true defenses. Came online. On the moon, massive structures that had been disguised as mining facilities opened like mechanical flowers. Weapons that had been hidden for decades emerged from beneath fake rock and metal. The lunar surface was not a research station. It was the largest fortress humanity had ever built. Railguns the size of city blocks began firing tungsten penetrators at a significant fraction of light speed. Each shot hit with the force of a nuclear bomb, but without the radiation. Imperial shields, designed to stop energy weapons and chemical explosives, crumpled like paper in the asteroid belt. What the aliens had thought were mining operations revealed themselves as military shipyards. Hundreds of human ships, built in secret over decades, emerged from hidden bases. They were smaller than Imperial vessels, but faster and deadlier. The human ships used hybrid technology, Earth engines powered by reverse-engineered alien drives, human weapons guided by alien targeting systems, nuclear warheads enhanced with exotic matter that should not have existed on a primitive world. Captain Sarah Mitchell commanded the UES Defiance, the first ship built entirely in space. Her crew of 200 had trained their entire lives for this moment. As her ship accelerated toward the alien fleet, she felt the weight of 7 billion people depending on her. All fighters, this is Defiance, she broadcast to the smaller ships around her. Remember your training. Hit fast, hit hard, and get out. These ships are big, but they're slow. Use that against them. The first wave of human fighters reached the Imperial fleet like a swarm of angry bees. The aliens had never faced anything like this. Their massive ships tried to track the small, fast human vessels, but their weapons were too slow. Human fighters dove between the alien ships, firing armor-piercing missiles at critical systems. They targeted engines, weapon batteries, and communication arrays. The Imperial ships, designed to fight from a distance, had no defense against close-range attacks. The Kethfer heavy cruiser Dominator shuddered as human missiles punched through its hull. Captain Nexville watched in horror as his ship's main reactor went critical. Systems that had worked perfectly for centuries suddenly failed. "Engineering report," he shouted. "Sir, they're targeting our weak points. I know exactly where to hit us. It's like they have our blueprints." They did have the blueprints. 70 years of studying crashed alien technology had taught humanity everything about Imperial ship design. Every weakness, every critical system, every way to make the massive vessels vulnerable. The battle raged across the inner solar system. Imperial ships tried to maintain formation, but human attacks came from every direction. Earth's moon fired massive slugs that could punch through 3 ships in a row. Hidden bases on Mars launched clouds of smart missiles that hunted alien vessels like packs of wolves. Admiral Zextal watched his fleet being torn apart by an enemy that should not have existed. His ships were dying faster than he could count them. These humans fought like nothing the Empire had ever encountered. "We've lost 40 ships," his tactical officer reported with a shaking voice. The humans are using some kind of advanced AI to coordinate their attacks. Our formations can't hold. Impossible. They're primitives. Sir, they're jamming our communications and targeting our command ships specifically. They know our tactics better than we do. As if summoned by his words, a group of human fighters appeared on Zextal's screen. They were heading straight for his flagship. The crushing fist's offensive weapons opened fire, but the small ships danced between the energy beams like they were performing a ballet. The lead fighter fired a single missile. It was not large, but it moved with impossible precision. The warhead struck the flagship's main communication array and exploded with exotic energy that made Zextal's sensors scream warnings. "Sir, we've lost long-range communications," his officer reported. "We can't coordinate the fleet." Through the chaos of battle, Admiral Torres' voice came over every Imperial ship's communication system. Somehow, the humans had hacked their secure networks. Admiral Zextal Torres said calmly, "You came to our system expecting to find sheep. You expected us to run, or hide, or beg for mercy." On the main screen, Zextal could see another Imperial ship exploding in the distance. "But you made a mistake. You didn't study us carefully enough. If you had, you would have learned something important about humans." More ships died as human fighters swarmed through the Imperial formation like hunting predators. When someone threatens our home, when someone tries to hurt our families, we don't become victims. We become something much worse. The Admiral paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was cold as space itself. "We become hunters." As if responding to his words, the asteroid belt suddenly came alive with light. Massive structures that had been hidden for decades revealed themselves. Shipyards, weapons platforms, and military bases that rivaled anything the Empire had ever built. Admiral Zextal finally understood the truth. Earth was not a primitive world that had gotten lucky. Earth was a military fortress that had been preparing for war for 3 generations. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a weapon, and that weapon was pointed directly at his fleet. Admiral Zextal watched his fleet die around him. Half of his ships were gone. Burning wreckage floated through space, where mighty Imperial warships had been just hours before. The survivors were badly damaged and running low on ammunition. This was not how conquests were supposed to work. The Empire showed up, the primitives surrendered, and another world joined the Galactic Order. Simple, clean, profitable. But these humans were not following the script. "Sir, we're receiving emergency reports from all sectors," his tactical officer announced with panic in his voice. "The Devourer is gone. The Iron Fist is gone. The Bone Crusher took a direct hit to its reactor and is breaking apart." For hands gripped his command chair so hard his claws left marks in the metal. In 300 years of military service, he had never lost a single ship. Today, he had lost over 150. "Open a channel to Imperial Command," he ordered. "Emergency priority, sir, the humans are jamming our long-range communications. We can't reach the home worlds, then we retreat. All ships withdraw to the jump point. We need to warn the Empire about this threat." The order went out to the surviving ships. What remained of the mighty Imperial fleet began a desperate run toward the edge of the solar system, where they could escape into hyperspace and bring word of this disaster back to the Empire. But Admiral Torres was watching every move from his command center. He had not spent 70 years preparing for this war just to let the invaders escape. "All units, this is command," Torres broadcast to his fleet. "The aliens are trying to run. Do not let them reach the jump point. I repeat, do not let them escape." Captain Sarah Mitchell received the order aboard her ship. The EU's Defiance had taken damage during the battle, but her engines still worked and her weapons were still hot. "You heard the Admiral?" she told her crew. "These aliens came here to destroy our world. They were going to kill everyone we've ever loved. We don't let killers walk away." The human ships moved to intercept the retreating Imperial fleet. They were faster and more maneuverable than the massive alien vessels. What should have been an orderly withdrawal became a running battle through the outer solar system. The Imperial ship Domination tried to make it to the asteroid belt. hoping to lose its pursuers in the floating rocks. But the asteroids were not empty space. They were full of hidden human bases and automated defense systems, mining platforms that the aliens had dismissed as primitive. Industry revealed their true nature. Asteroid installations opened fire with weapons that had been disguised as drilling equipment. The Domination found itself trapped in a crossfire between human ships and hidden fortresses. Captain Vexful tried to maneuver his damaged ship through the asteroid field, but there was nowhere to hide. Human fighters came at him from every direction. His shields failed under constant bombardment, and his hull began to crack. "Abandon ship," he ordered his crew. "All hands to the escape pods." The mighty Imperial cruiser broke apart among the asteroids, adding its wreckage to the growing graveyard of alien ships. Admiral Zextel's flagship was running for Jupiter, hoping the gas giant's massive gravity well would help them escape. But as they approached the planet, they discovered another horror. Jupiter's moons were not natural satellites. They were military bases. Io opened like a mechanical flower, revealing weapon batteries that had been hidden beneath fake volcanic activity. Europa's ice cracked apart to show missile silos that had been constructed under the frozen surface. Ganymede and Callisto revealed themselves as massive shipyards where more human vessels waited in ambush. "This is impossible," Zexel whispered as he watched the tactical display. "How long have they been building all this? Is intelligence?" Officer checked his data with shaking hands. "Sir, based on what we're seeing, they must have started construction shortly after we began monitoring their system. They've been preparing for our arrival for decades, but how did they know we were coming?" "Sir, there are records of Imperial scout ships missing in this sector over the past century. The humans must have captured some of them." Zextel felt cold dread creep up his spine. The Empire had been sending scouts to this system for over 100 years, mapping it for eventual conquest. Some of those scouts had disappeared, written off as equipment failures or navigation errors. The humans had been capturing Imperial ships and learning from them. Every technology, every tactic, every weakness had been studied and prepared for. The Empire had been giving the humans everything they needed to build a defense that could destroy an Imperial fleet. More ships died as they tried to reach the outer system. The human forces seemed to be everywhere at once. Small, fast ships that struck like lightning and vanished before the aliens could respond. Larger vessels that could match Imperial firepower but moved twice as fast. The worst part was the humans' coordination. Every attack was perfectly timed. Every maneuver was calculated to cause maximum damage. They fought like they had been practicing this exact battle for their entire lives because they had Captain Mitchell's ship caught up with a damaged Imperial cruiser near Saturn. The alien ship was leaking atmosphere and limping toward the jump point on failing engines. "This is Captain Mitchell of the United Earth Defense Force," she broadcast to the alien ship. "You have two choices. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated according to the laws of war, or continue running and be destroyed." The alien captain's response came back immediately. "We do not surrender to primitives. Then you die like the rest." The Defiance opened fire with weapons that should not have existed on a human ship. Exotic matter warheads that the humans had developed from captured alien technology. Energy weapons powered by fusion reactors that burned hotter than the sun. The Imperial cruiser died in silence, its hull cracking apart in the cold vacuum of space. By the time the surviving aliens reached the edge of the solar system, only a dozen ships remained from the original 300. They were damaged, demoralized, carrying a message that would terrify the Empire. Admiral Zextel's flagship was among the survivors, but barely. His crew was dead. His weapons were offline, and his engines were failing. As his ship prepared to jump to hyperspace, he activated the emergency beacon that would warn the Empire of the disaster. "This is Admiral Zexel reporting a code black emergency," he transmitted. "The conquest of the third planet has failed." Repeat, the conquest has failed. The natives are not primitives. They've advanced military technology and have converted their entire system into a fortress. He paused, thinking of all the ships and crew he was leaving behind. The species designation is incorrect. They are not a primitive civilization suitable for conquest. They are a military threat to the Empire. Recommend immediate defensive measures for all border systems. The transmission ended, and the surviving ships vanished into hyperspace, carrying their terrifying news back to the Empire. But Admiral Torres was not finished. As the alien ships escaped, he activated a communication system that reached across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Torres of Earth." He broadcast on every frequency the Empire used. "Your fleet came to our system to conquer us. You failed. Ships are destroyed and your survivors are running home to warn you about us." The transmission reached Imperial worlds across the galaxy, carrying a message that would change everything. "We know who you are now. We know where you come from. We're coming for you." 6 months after the battle at Earth, Emperor Vorthak sat on his crystal throne in the capital city of the Kethver Empire. The throne room was vast, with pillars that reached toward a ceiling painted with the conquests of 800 worlds. For 1,000 years, this room had been a place of celebration and triumph. Today it felt like a tomb. The Emperor's advisor, Lord Kethron, approached the throne with trembling steps. In his forehands he carried data tablets that contained the most disturbing intelligence reports in Imperial history. "Your Majesty," Kethron began, his voice barely above a whisper, "we have received 17 emergency transmissions from our border systems." Emperor Vorthak was old, even for his long-lived species. He had ruled the Empire for 400 years and had never known defeat. His gray skin was marked with the ritual scars of a warrior king, and his 6 eyes had seen the conquest of more worlds than any ruler in galactic history. "Speak," he commanded. "The humans, Your Majesty. They have left their system." The Emperor leaned forward. After Admiral Zexthel's broken fleet had limped home with news of the disaster at Earth, Vorthak had ordered all Imperial forces to avoid the human system. One lost fleet was a tragedy. Losing more would be a catastrophe. "Explain," Lord Kethron activated the first data tablet. A holographic display showed the Kepler system. It's 300 light-years from Earth. It had been an Imperial mining colony with a small garrison. The Kepler colony stopped responding to communications for days. Ago, a scout ship was sent to investigate. The hologram showed the wreckage of Imperial ships floating in space around the mining platforms. The installations themselves were intact but empty. There were no survivors, Your Majesty. But we found this message broadcasted on Imperial frequencies. Human face appeared in the hologram. It was Admiral Torres, the same human who had destroyed Admiral Zexthel's fleet. But now, he was not speaking from Earth. He was speaking from the bridge of a human ship, somewhere deep in Imperial space. "This is Admiral Torres of the United Earth Liberation Fleet," the recording began. "To the people who were enslaved in this system, you are now free. The Imperial garrison has been destroyed. Your overseers are gone. You can return to your homes or join us in freeing other worlds." The recording continued. "To the Kethver Empire, this is our response to your demand for Earth surrender. We told you to come and take it. You failed. Now we're coming to take everything from you." Emperor Vorthak's claws scraped against his throne. "One system. Me the next report." Lord Kethron activated another tablet. This time the hologram showed the Proxima mining operation, another Imperial colony, another scene of destruction. "Proxima went dark 2 days ago. Same pattern, Your Majesty. Imperial ships destroyed, facilities intact, slaves freed." More holograms appeared. The Centauri outpost, the Vega supply depot, the Wolf system garrison. Each one showed the same thing. Human ships appearing without warning, destroying Imperial forces with terrifying efficiency and freeing enslaved populations. "How many systems have we lost?" the Emperor asked. 17 confirmed, Your Majesty." "Ow!" "But the reports are coming in faster than we can process them." The humans appear to be moving through Imperial space in multiple groups, hitting several targets at once. "What ships are they using?" "Our intelligence said they had no faster-than-light capability. They're using our own technology against us, Your Majesty. Ships built with reverse-engineered Imperial drives, but armed with weapons we don't understand." They're faster than our vessels, and their weapons cut through our shields like they don't exist. Emperor Vorthak stood from his throne and walked to the great window that looked out over his capital city. Millions of beings from conquered worlds lived in the towers below, all serving the empire that had destroyed their homes. What do the freed slaves do after the humans liberate them? That's the worst part, Your Majesty. They don't just go home. The humans are teaching them how to fight. They're giving them weapons and ships. They're turning our former slaves into rebels. The emperor felt something cold settle in his stomach. For 1,000 years, the empire had ruled through fear and overwhelming force. Conquered species stayed conquered because they had no choice. But if someone was teaching them to fight back, Your Majesty, there's more, Lord Kethrin continued nervously. We intercepted a transmission between human ships yesterday. A new hologram appeared. It showed 2 human captains talking to each other across space. The Emperor could see their ships in the background, sleek vessels that looked more advanced than anything in the Imperial fleet. Captain Rodriguez, this is Captain Kim. We finished clearing the Tau Ceti system. How's your operation going? Almost done here, Captain Kim. The locals are eager to learn how to use Imperial weapons against Imperial ships. I think we'll have 3 new rebel fleets ready to deploy within a month. Excellent. Admiral Torres wants us to rendezvous at the staging area before we hit the core systems. Are you ready to take this fight to their home worlds? More than ready? These Empire ships are sitting ducks once you know their weaknesses. Thanks to that crashed scout ship we captured 70 years ago, we know all their weaknesses. Transmission ended, leaving Emperor Vorthak staring at empty air. Staging area? He asked quietly. They have a staging area? Yes, Your Majesty. Intelligence believes they have established multiple forward bases and captured Imperial territory. They're not just raiding, they're building an invasion force. The Emperor walked back to his throne, but did not sit. His mind was racing through possibilities, all of them terrible. How long before they reach the core worlds? Unknown, Your Majesty. But based on their current rate of advance, Lord Kethrin paused, calculating. 6 months? Maybe less. 6 months. In 6 months, ships carrying the flag of a primitive world that the Empire had tried to conquer would be attacking the heart of galactic civilization. Double the guard on all core systems, the Emperor ordered. Recall all fleets from the outer rim. Prepare the capital defenses. Yes, Your Majesty. Kethrin. Kethrin hesitated. What is it? The humans have been broadcasting on all Imperial frequencies. Every slave world, every conquered system has heard their message. They're calling it the Great Liberation. There are reports of uprisings on dozens of worlds. Emperor Vorthak finally understood the true scope of the disaster. The humans had not just defeated an Imperial fleet, they had done something far worse. They had given hope to the conquered. They had shown the galaxy that the Empire could be beaten. As if summoned by his thoughts, every communication screen in the throne room activated at once. The face of Admiral Torres appeared on each one, transmitted from somewhere in Imperial space. Emperor Vorthak Torres said, his voice calm and steady. I'm told you rule this empire from a crystal throne on a world you call the heart of civilization. The Admiral paused, and behind him, the Emperor could see human officers working at stations aboard a ship that looked suspiciously like it had been built from captured Imperial technology. 6 months ago, you sent Admiral Zexthel to demand Earth's surrender. We gave you our answer then. We're giving you our answer now. Torres leaned closer to the camera, and his eyes were as cold as deep space. We're coming for your throne, Emperor. We're coming for your worlds. Coming for your empire. We're bringing every slave you ever conquered with us. The transmission ended, leaving the throne room in silence. Emperor Vorthak looked out the window at his capital city and realized that everything was about to change. The Empire had demanded Earth's surrender and received missiles in reply. Now those missiles were coming home.